Hey guys, this is going to be a super quick video. I just want to follow up. Just a couple days ago, I gave you guys a video on preseason betting, NFL preseason betting, in case you thought I was talking like rugby or something. Yeah, I don't know shit about rugby. Anyways, so one of the teams that we identified was actually really good, or at least I should say tries to win the games in preseason football, is the Minnesota Vikings. In case you didn't watch that video, I would say please go back and watch that video, mainly so that I can get the view and you can leave me a like and subscribe and all that stuff, but there's good information too if you're into that. But the Vikings in the last 2 years, and again, remember last year there wasn't no preseason because of COVID, I'm sure you guys are all around for that. Anyways, the Vikings in the last 2 years that there was a preseason went 6-2. They still have the same coach. Predominantly the same players. You know, the core is still there. It's still Kirk Cousins and Dalvin Cook, and look who I'm talking to. You guys know what the rosters are. So they are trying to win. They're setting that precedent of we're going to win. The Chiefs, on the other hand, have gone 3-5 in the last 2 years of those preseason, and in those 3 wins, one of those came against Atlanta. And the Falcons, if you don't remember, if you didn't watch the video, were the absolute worst preseason team possible. Dan Quinn was literally just not giving a shit about preseason at all. Like, he had zero shits to give. He was all out. None were given for preseason whatsoever. He actually went 0-12. So in a 3-year history, he went 0-12. The only reason I bring that up is because he's gone now, obviously, so it's a new coach, so you can't really bet against Atlanta. I mean, you can, but this coach reasoning that I stick to and live by, even when it comes to regular season for the most part, this is not going to apply for the Falcons, at least not in the preseason. The Chiefs, though, beat Atlanta, and so it was kind of like a gimme. It's kind of like, yeah, Atlanta's really not going to try to do anything. They're just going to try and not get injured. And that's about it. Maybe get a good scouting report on their own players. So you got to keep in mind, one of those wins the Chiefs got, one of the 3 wins was against Atlanta. So 30% of their wins came against a team that was 0-12. If we take that out, not going to give them a loss, but let's just say it's 2-5, and they went 2-5 in the last 2 years. That's just a team that just does not care about preseason whatsoever. And I mean, I don't blame them. They lost in the Super Bowl, but obviously they were a Super Bowl contender. The year before that Super Bowl, they won. They, again, are returning the same pieces. There's nothing really they need to prove to anybody. We all know they're good. They themselves know they're good. They know they are a Super Bowl caliber team. Andy Reid knows it. Andy Reid's been around the league. He knows you don't want to show too much in the preseason or even the first couple of weeks of the season. You're just trying to get through and, find, in his case, for the rookies, find who you're going to keep, or you're not, all that stuff. Patrick Mahomes, I would be surprised if a guy even touches the field in preseason, and I don't blame him. I'd do the same thing. I'd be keeping him in, like, plastic wrap in, like, a little Mylar bag to the side with just, like, a little breathing hole. Like, don't touch my dude. Get, hands off. I will drop kick you in the throat if you touch Mahomes, okay? And I don't blame him. I'm doing the same thing. But that being said, this game is the 3rd preseason game. So if you're not aware, there's only 3 preseason games this year. So they are going to find a way to give even less effort in this game. And it's probably both teams, to be honest with you. But the Chiefs, really, there's no need for them to run anybody of any sort of value out there. They're just going to really be going through the motions, and they are really, truly not trying to show any plays. If you've watched in the last couple seasons in their preseason, they're really just going out there to get like a scouting report on, like, okay, this guy knows how to handle himself on the field. He is an NFL caliber athlete, and that's about it. So I'm taking the Vikings. These lines have not come out yet, so I don't know what the line's going to be. This is a really tricky one because, one, it's obviously 3 weeks into the preseason, so some things are going to change between week 1 and week 3 of the preseason. But 2, the Chiefs, in the regular season at least, are overinflated because everybody's betting the Chiefs. There might not be that much action this year, especially during the preseason, but I would tend to think that the Chiefs are going to get overvalued as well. Even if they lose the first 2 games, I don't think you're going to come see like the Vikings -8 or the Vikings -10. I'm hoping it's like a field goal, one way or the other. Obviously, if you can get the points with the Vikings, I'd love it, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think the Chiefs are probably going to go 0-2 in their first 2 games, and so you're probably going to end up having to bet the Vikings at like a -3, -4, something like that. So, again, I like the Vikings to win against the Chiefs. We'll see what the line comes out at. Lastly, and again, go back and watch the other video because there's a lot of good information on that. But one thing I just wanted to touch on is I emphasize the preseason and the first 7 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks, depending on how we're doing, of the NFL season to really maximize your return. Like I said, that's when the books are not as sharp as they will be towards the end and in the playoffs especially. And even like the big syndicates are not as sharp and they're not as loose with their money as they will be once it gets to like the midway point of the season. One thing that I failed to mention in the last video though is obviously there was no preseason again in 2020. So a lot of narratives and storylines that people were coming into the preseason with as far as gambling was concerned don't exist anymore. Dan Quinn and the Falcons being one of those. I know going into last season, and I was hoping there'd be a preseason, I was totally ready and prepared to put all my money against the Falcons every single preseason game because I was like, these guys aren't going to care. And I would have done that. But I totally, missed that opportunity because of COVID, but so did everybody else. And as we come into this year, I think a lot of those storylines have gotten forgotten. The only reason I remember it is because I specifically wrote it down. I have a spreadsheet. I have, grading algorithm and all that stuff, and I have those notes in there. And so it was not until recently, like the last month, that I went in there, popped that open, and I saw that note, and it reminded me, like, oh yeah, those guys sucked. So you're going to have to realize that a lot of these people that are betting preseason and using the same kind of logic points that I am, reasoning and watching the games like I am, at least the first week, if not the entire preseason, they've kind of forgotten those things. Again, maybe the bigger, sharper guys, the syndicates, I'm sure they have it written down. I'm sure that they have somebody assigned to remember, like, hey, this team is good or bad in the preseason. But just your generic public guy, he might have forgotten that John Harbaugh is 12-0 in his last 3 preseasons. So, not that it's something that you need to remember. You can write it down. Like I said, you don't have to have it on the top of your head. But if you go ask generic football guy, like, hey, tell me a team that's really good in the preseason, specifically in the preseason, I have a feeling that most of the people you talk to are going to be like, I don't know. Like, whoever's good, the Chiefs. And it's just not the case. And that, like I said, that's the best time to take advantage of the market because you're going to get a lot of that public money. And I think this year, even more so than most years, people are just dying to get their money into the hands of books and bookies because they're missing the NFL. Basketball's been kind of a weird season with all these injuries. Football last year was great, but it was obviously impacted by COVID. A lot of people were kind of like stingy with their money, not wanting to put too much down, and even other people, obviously, they were just out of jobs, and it was totally understandable. But this year, I really think you're going to have more action and some more public money coming into these games. And if my theory is right, and they're just kind of betting on teams like, hey, I just want some action. I haven't had a good NFL game, not impacted by COVID, and I haven't watched a preseason game in 2 years. I just want to put some money down on this. Give me something to do on a random like Wednesday night or Thursday night or whenever the hell these games are going to take place. I really think you're going to see some money shift lines, and hopefully it'll be in our favor, especially in this case where we're betting against the Chiefs. So, anyways, keep that in mind, guys. I hope this was insightful. Hopefully you will join me in betting with the Vikings and against the Chiefs on August 27th. Again, thank you for watching the video. I will be giving more tips out as we get closer to the season. Like I said, I have a few other videos kind of on deck here, so One of them is going to be another week 1 pick. Another video is like a stock tip video. And so if you're not aware of this channel, we do mostly talk about football and gambling and line movements and stuff like that. But I am a investor by trade. I do work within the stock market, so I do have some tips and things like that. Obviously, I'm not giving any inside info, but just some tips, tricks to the trade here that I don't think you'll get many other places. So those videos are coming up, and just in case anyone else is interested out there, there are some other, not stock tips, but other ways of making some quick money, some quick flips. Not necessarily gonna make you rich, but a quick couple bucks in your pocket never hurts. I do have some other videos along those lines coming in, so not too many. Again, we are going to predominantly keep it football here, especially as the season gets started. Plus, I just love talking about football, so hopefully, again, you guys are cool with dealing with me through this and listening to me talk and all this other stuff. At least I spare you, from having to look at my face. I never understood why dudes want their face all over YouTube. Like, it's nothing but other men watching you, dude. I don't want to see your big, nasty beard with whatever hair else you got going on. So, yeah, I'm not making you look at my face, guys. Anyways, thanks again. Please like and subscribe. Comment below with any other maybe picks or winners you think are coming up here, whether it's preseason or week 1 of the NFL. Try not to look too far ahead. But again, thank you and have a great day.